It would be pretty straightforward to compose a list of top 10 star cars, or the most improved cars, or perhaps the most technically advanced cars, but you know, that would be so boring. So instead, we here at TFL focus on the most fun to drive cars. These cars may not be the fastest, the most powerful, or even the most expensive cars, but they certainly are the most interesting cars that we've driven in 2011. So that's why we're proud to present our 2011 list of the most fun to drive cars, right now in no particular order. I'm here at the top of the world, Independence Pass, just outside of Aspen. Why am I here? Subaru brought me here for the launch of the 2011 WRX and STI. Behind me, the new sedan version. Come with me and we'll check it out together. The biggest news, you can now get the STI in a 4-door sedan version, featuring of course that iconic rear wing that Subaru has long been known for. So obviously Subaru has a long history in the World Rally Championship, so I was quite surprised, pleasantly so, that I got to drive the car on a rally course. I can't tell you how it drove once again, but I can show you how it drove. Sweet! So would this be typical kind of a rally course, or is this very different?
Stage?
Yeah.
It's similar but shorter, okay. And probably maybe a bit rougher as well.
There you go.
Sideways.
That was nice. For 2011, the STI has retained the same 305 horsepower turbo engine as this year's model, but underneath, you know, where it really counts, that's where the changes are. Subaru engineers say they've tightened up the suspension, they've made it much more responsive and much more aggressive. Does it work? Watch for yourself. You have to admit, $93,525 is a lot to pay for a new car, even a premium German luxury car. But this Audi, the new A8, has a lot of technology. So let's see if it's worth it. Let's find out together. When it's cold outside like it is today, of course the A8 has heated and cooled seats, but here's my favorite part. Check this out. It also has seats that will massage your back, from the wave, to knocking, to stretch, to lumbar. Really, all that's missing is a happy ending. Really. Not only does the A8 have adjustable air suspension, but you can also adjust the driving dynamics of the car with this little switch, which goes from comfort to auto to dynamic to individual, which changes the way the car handles around corners. But let's face it, most of us, well, we'll probably just keep it in auto because that's where it's easiest. Like any good luxury car worth its salt, the A8 has an automatic trunk. When you pay almost $100,000 for a car, you don't want to have to close the trunk yourself, do you? To be fair, there are some annoying things about this new A8. For instance, this gear selector lever. To put it in drive, you pull back on the lever. Okay, that works great. But if you want to go in reverse, you do the same thing. And look, I just blew by reverse and now I'm in drive again. Here's something really crazy. You've just spent $93,000 on a car and yet you didn't get something. What didn't I get for my $93,000?
Hey, how you doing? Nathan Adlin here with the 2011 Scion TC. This one has the TRD package, so it has the larger 19-inch wheels, has an exhaust package, and it also has a stick shift which has shorter throws. Great car, fantastic car, had a lot of fun with it. And you know, over the past couple of years, I've been really pissed off at Scion for not giving us anything new. This is new. It's better. They finally came in out of the woods, out of the wilderness, and gave us a good car.
Here's the real tricky part. When Scion first introduced the TC, it bottled the cool genie. In other words, it was the cool, the thing you want. But it's almost impossible to get the cool genie back in the model. And I think if you're 27 years old, which is what Scion says the average buyer of this car is, male, you're going to want a Mini Cooper and not a Scion TC.
Roman loves the Mini Cooper. All right, fine, I totally get it. It is aesthetically gorgeous. It's got a great interior. It's got a lot of great switches. It's European. It's sophisticated. It's expensive. It's a little girly.
In order for Toyota to put that cool genie back in the model, they gotta make the interior as nice as the exterior. Don't get me wrong, I love this big old fat honking steering wheel. It's just so much fun to drive. But the parts in this car, they could be out of a Yaris, and a parts bin car isn't special. A Mini, on the other hand, it has unique parts, they're metal, they just feel nice to the touch. That's when the car goes from being a 10 to being an 11.
Who cares about the interior? This car's fun. That's what matters, fun. Okay, parts bin, no big deal. Metal switch gears, and they're pretty on the Mini. No big deal. What's important is that this car is exciting to drive.
You know, Nathan, I thought the Mini was such a better car, but for 19 or so thousand, you know, that's not a bad car, especially once you drive it. It's really a lot of fun.
2011 is a good year for Scion. They finally brought back something that was a real fun car to drive. Look, the Mini's great, but this car, for the price, it's hard to beat.
So, at this point you may be wondering, how does a new Challenger handle out on the track? With a bigger engine and better suspension? Well, there's only one way to really find out. So I'm lucky enough to be in the car with Adam Forte, who is in essence responsible for the development of this new Challenger and the new engine.
This was an outrageously fantastic program to be on. I feel very privileged to be within the SRT group and to have a chance to bring this kind of a product out there to the field with customers that are really so passionate about these cars.
my immediate reaction is I love the sound of that engine. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's breathing 470 horsepower, so it's got a lot of power, and the torque is there right from the bottom all the way to the top. We actually have an active intake manifold that's new for 2011. So in essence, we go from a long runner to a short runner to really let the engine breathe at the top end and make sure that we don't have a drop off of the torque.
Did you tweak the chassis as well? I'm feeling like this car is really sticking to the road.
Yeah, we redid most of the bushings in the suspension, and basically tightened up both the shocks and the springs to really give a solid quartering vehicle that matches the performance of the engine. This is where it all comes together, and that's why as a development manager, I do all the testing on the track as well. So we want to make sure that all the things that we're doing in the office all come together in the right way for the customers on the track and on the road. You know, I've got a lot of I got a lot of vested interest in every part of this car, so I'm very happy with everything.
Nice! Good job! Oh yeah! There you go. Got 2 more left.
We got enough braking to make your eyeballs bleed. It's fantastic, you know. So it's all about matching the power with the power of the brakes with the power of the engine, and then obviously making the car handle everywhere in between.
Here's a question for you to ponder. Are American car buyers ready for a premium, economical, European small car, with the emphasis being on small? Meet the 2011 Ford Fiesta. If it looks familiar to you, don't be surprised. It was the best-selling car in Europe last month with almost 70,000 units sold. Ford is building it in Mexico and bringing it to a dealership near you this summer. Ford is taking a little bit of a calculated gamble with the new Fiesta. It's a small car, and traditionally, small cars, at least European small cars, don't sell well in America. That's why you'll be able to buy the Fiesta with almost every creature comfort you can think of, including leather, a segment first. The car will also come with Ford's Sync user interface, a 5-speed manual, or, get this, a dual-clutch 6-speed automatic, which Ford says is much more economic and will rip shifts like a Volkswagen GTI.
What I really hope you'll see today is there's competent competitors, but often they have trade-offs, right? They won't have the soft touch IP, they won't have all the interior features, they won't have this, they won't have that, and they may have many of them, but they won't have it all. And we really wanted the customer to feel like they can pick and choose and get everything in the car.
I'm kind of cheating because I did drive one of these in Europe this past summer, and one of the things that I was really impressed by versus my Fit was high-speed stability and quietness. I mean, as you can hear, it
is very quiet in here.
Not a lot of ambient noise, and if you're doing a lot of highway miles, that's a pretty strong selling point.
We really don't believe the world is so different. We really believe the world is starting to converge on tastes and priorities, fuel economy.
And speaking of fuel economy, I managed to get 32 miles to the gallon in combined city and highway driving from the 120 horsepower 1.6-liter engine. listen to this. Oh yeah. You know, I drive a lot of cars every week, and there are very few cars that I look forward to reviewing like this car. The 2011 Cadillac CTS-V Coupe. It's stylish, it's powerful, it's beautiful, and let's take it for a ride and see if the promise of this car is as good as a reality. The CTS-V Coupe, in my opinion, is about three simple words: effortless power and style. First, let's talk about the effortless power. Next to me is a Jeep Wrangler. All I do is use my big toe. Bye-bye, Jeep Wrangler. A second later, no Jeep Wrangler. That is the definition of effortless power. Here's something fun. See the speedometer? See the 0 miles per hour? Watch what happens when I floor it. That's 80 miles an hour almost. Were you able to keep up with the numbers changing? Because they were changing pretty darn fast. There are some serious niggles, and maybe niggles isn't the right word, quality control might be a better word, issues with this car. This seat, for instance, it squeaks like my grandfather's rocking chair. Here, let me kind of brake and accelerate and brake. If I bought this car for almost $70,000, I'd be right back at the dealership getting that sorted out immediately, because it's really annoying. Yeah, really annoying. Style-wise, Cadillac has knocked the CTS-V out of the ballpark. Let me show you what I mean. For instance, check out these beautifully designed and hidden door handles. You have to reach in, push the button, window opens, door opens. Beautiful, just elegant and simple and effective. Northern California at the press intro of the 2011 Jetta. Behind me is a brand new car. As you can tell, as always, I've got one of the more expensive ones, the SEL model, which starts at about $21,000. If you go for the S model, well, that one's $16,000. Anyway, come with me as we take a ride and check out this new car for 2011. Here are 4 words that Volkswagen would like potential Jetta buyers to keep in mind: sophistication, size, features, and value. Those are the things that VW says set the new 2011 Jetta apart from the competition. But you know, I'm guessing what you really care about is how does the car drive.
We just got into the hills here, and you know, one of the concerns was, okay, are they going to kind of dumb it down? Is it going to lose feel? But so far so good. Steering feels really good. This 2.5 liter still has all that low end stuff that gets you out of the corner. Good, positive so far.
The Jetta now features Volkswagen's new design language, which in real terms means no more big prominent front grille. On the inside, the car is very straightforward and very elegant all at the same time. So once you get behind the wheel, the first thing you notice is that the car is obviously very German. Unlike the previous generation of Jetta, this car is a little bit longer, about 2.9 inches, and probably a little bit more refined in terms of what you get feature-wise. The plastics are a little bit almost cheaper, maybe a little bit harder, not as soft as the old ones. But the steering wheel is nice and fat. But what you lose in trim, you make up for in size and features, including nice touches like Bluetooth connectivity. A couple of niggles: the navigation/user interface screen for my liking is just a little too small. I'd like to see a little bit bigger. It's not as teeny tiny as the Mazda 3, but nevertheless it'd be nice to have a nice big screen. For 2011, the Jetta will come with 3 engine choices. Starting with the base 2-liter, our tester had the 2.5 170 horsepower engine, and a diesel will also be available. 44 years ago, the very first Dodge Charger rolled off the assembly line, and in all those years, the Charger has often been more about style than substance. So let's take a new one for a ride, the 2011 model, and see if that's changed. They often say that first impressions are the most honest. So my first impression of this car is that it's big, it's solid, and it's powerful. Do you remember the days when 300 horsepower was almost in supercar territory? Well, here I am in the base Charger, and it's just a few horsepower short of 300. And this is the entry-level car. Amazing how far we've come.
We look really back at what made Challengers great in the late 60s, early 70s. So what you see in this interior is the 1971 Charger coming back to life with the asymmetrical cockpit, which was really, really cool back in those days. The bezel that you see here is actually real aluminum. It's not plastic, it's not a film, it's real aluminum through all price classes. So even if you opt for the entry-level model, you get this beautiful aluminum.
I'm lucky enough to be with Tom Volk of Driven Car Reviews, and I'm a big fan of yours, Tom, so it's thrilled to have you as a co-driver. First impression, what do you think of the Charger?
Well, for a big car, it's pretty tight. It almost feels like a German vehicle. And the interior materials are great.
Are you a 30 to 40-year-old guy? And do you care about your carbon footprint? If so, Lexus has a car for you. Meet the CT, and that stands for Comfort Touring 200 Lexus Hybrid 2011. Join me as we take it for a ride and find out how this newest baby Lexus drives. And perhaps baby Lexus is a great way to describe this car because it's got all the attributes you think about Lexus. It's got a nicely leather covered steering wheel, it's got luxury appointments throughout the cabin, and it's got surprisingly very comfortable seats, which when you're doing a little bit of sporting driving like I'm about to do, you know, come in handy. The Lexus CT200H has 3 modes of driving. There is an eco mode, a normal mode, and the sport mode, which I'm in, which changes the throttle mapping and gives you a little bit more power. And impressively, I've driven this car now almost 50 miles, and I'm getting 38 miles to the gallon in sport mode.
I can switch from sport to eco to normal mode just by twisting the knob or pushing in on it. If I need to get in a space where I'm driving down city streets where I'm going to stop and go traffic, the batteries are full state of charge, I can just push the EV button here and go up to about 20 miles per hour. I can actually cruise around with that without running the engine. So again, for better economy.
One of the cool and customizable parts of the car is you can switch the tachometer on your left from a tachometer to a power gauge, basically, right there, which shows you how much energy you're using. And if we switch back to the tachometer, or in sport mode, you can use it more of a kind of a sports car feel. The one small niggle I have with the Lexus CT200H is the engine note, and that's because it has a CVT, or a continuously varying transmission, for better fuel economy. But let me floor it, and you can listen for yourself. You hear that? It just kind of drones instead of giving that nice, satisfying engine note, but there is a price to pay for outstanding fuel economy. Now make no mistake, the Lexus CT200 Hybrid is a small car. As you can probably tell, I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm 6'2", and I barely fit back here, so keep in mind, this is a tight car.
Our current IS starts at in the 32 and change, 33 range, and we know we need to be below that, and we'd like to be as far below that as possible.
I got to drive this car both in the New Orleans countryside and now I'm in downtown New Orleans, so I get a sense for what it drives like in the city. I have to tell you, driving the new CT down Bourbon Street in the city, it feels a lot more at home, and best of all, it even gets better gas mileage. Think of this as a Prius drivetrain on the new Scion TC body, which begs the question, why not just buy a Prius? It's probably faster because it's lighter, and it certainly gets better gas mileage. You gotta ask yourself this.
And you've seen it here first on TFLcar.com.